and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining to me today, we're not sure if he's going to be a Cousin Oliver or a Cousin Larry Appleton. We'll find out in the next hour. Please welcome from the Main Attraction Podcast, Justin Strawn.
Hey, man, I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, we're happy to have you here, and just ask him, there's no party like an eye doctor party. Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear. And I got the whole house to myself, which means I can drink all the Mountain Dew I want, and there's nobody here to stop me. So it could be an exciting hour, folks.
So
you'll want to stay tuned as the caffeine kicks in.
Are you already in your underpants at this point?
I've been in my underpants, but a very, very warm, woolly hoodie up top, so it all works out.
Man.
Looks kind of like I'm wearing a really short dress that would have been popular on the Brady Bunch.
You know what the best part about podcasts are? Audio-only formats, where the viewer doesn't have to be subject to all the things that, you know, that they could be. People go like,
Very
"Oh God,
true.
are you guys gonna like, you put your show up on YouTube and everything, but it's just the audio. There's no video. Why no video? You don't want video for things just such as that."
Oh, man.
Sean couldn't. What?
I was going to say, they put us straight to Daily Motion. They got to look at us.
You gotta go to Daily Motion, my word. Get your real player updated in the background and you'll be A-okay to go. That's some old people internet jokes, everybody.
Yes, it is.
Well, Justin, welcome to the show. We've got Sean is out this week. Cracker Factory had a big problem, so it's A-okay. We were like, listen, I got to get somebody in here who knows his stuff, who's ready to go, and has a professional microphone, and Justin is the number one guy who came to the top of the list for that. Justin, tell the people a little bit about your podcast, man.
So I host the Main Attraction Podcast. We do 2 podcasts a week. We normally do a lot of the same stuff that you do over here, but we also do a lot of just like regular TV shows. Like we just wrapped up The Last of Us. We're doing the Mando right now as well. We're also getting ready to cover the first episode of Ted Lasso. So we're going to see how kind of that goes. This will be our first year to cover Ted Lasso, and I'm really looking forward to Yellow Jackets next week. That one should be fun. So those are the kind of things that we cover.
Yeah, Justin's show is great because they have the ability to kind of go over and do all whatever they kind of want to. You were kind of smart with that. Like we, you know, almost 10 years ago when we started this thing, we were like, we want to go super specific on everything. And now we're just like, we could have been a little bit wider. At the same time.
One more time, Justin, what's the name of your show?
Main Attraction Podcast.
Main Attraction Podcast.
There'll be a link for it in the
always
show
like
notes.
to make sure we say it 3 times so people can hear it.
We'll get it at the end. There'll be a link in the show notes for it. Fear not. We got everybody covered. But this week, we're heading out to the theaters to watch Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Didn't exactly blow up at the box office with a cool $30 million opening. Not quite sure what they were expecting on that one, but we'll get into all of that fun stuff very soon. But before we do that, we want to say a giant thank you to everyone who supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. This week, we talk all about the Oscars and stuff on the Dinger Zone, and the most current Oscars, and of course, previous ones, favorite moments from the past and stuff like that. So check all that out. It's a really fun time, and you can help support this here program at the exact same time. That's the best part about it, is that you get more stuff and you help this show. But if you can't support us over at Patreon, that is A-okay. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, aka Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we really appreciate that. And 5 stars on Spotify now. You can't write anything, which is a bleeding shame, but you know, you can still leave a 5-star. We really appreciate that.
And you know what? The door's still wide open if anybody wants to make a podcast called Hero Movie Podcast 30 Questions, where you ask 30 questions about every episode of our podcast. I'd subscribe.
You know,
hey, Adam, can I do it real quick? Can I give a shout out to one of your Patreon followers, Nate
please.
King Solomon's Frog?
Yeah.
He found our podcast through you guys when me submitting questions, all that kind of stuff to your 30Q podcast, and he's now a Patreon of our show. So I wanted to give him a special shout out.
Nate's the friggin' best, man. He's given us so many great ideas and stuff over the years that just like it's so many things that we don't even always credit him as well as we should. But a fantastic guy at everything, and that's, to me, that is one of the cool things, because Justin's been a Patreon supporter for a long time. It's just like the relationships that you form with these people, because you guys aren't just people that, you know, just throw us some change every month. you're also people that we care about. Like, we know who you guys are. We have you on the podcast, for heaven's sake. Like, this is literally a perk right here is, guess what? The podcast that you enjoy and listen to, they may call you up and ask you to just join on a show. Just be good at it. That's all I'm asking. So if you suck, you never see Justin again, you'll know what happened. I'm kidding. I'm sure we'll have him back at some point.
Harsh, man, harsh.
Hey, listen. He knows. He's listened to this show long enough. I think he knows. He knows the score. So thanks for showing up, and thank you for being a Patreon and supporter, and all those other fine folks. Patreon.com/HMP. Let's get into it. We got a heck of a show here today, boys. Here is the trailer for Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
We are at war. We will annihilate everything. Champions of this realm can do nothing to stop us.
You are very menacing. I just want you to know that. A lot has changed in the last few years. The wizard gave me superpowers. And then everybody got superpowers.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
All right, here's the situation.
Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
The daughters of Atlas are coming to hunt us.
Children stole the power of the gods. You ripped it from our father's core.
Okay, I feel like maybe I should be writing all this down.
Give us the powers, child.
Your world will not survive this.
You want these powers? Come get them!
Hey, Khaleesi!
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
All right,
Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
we have one job to do. Save the world.
I don't know how we fight powers like this.
I can't do this. Take my powers back. You gave them to me, so you can take them back, right?
I spent millennia searching for a worthy champion. You know exactly what must be done.
Billy, what are you doing?
I have to do this.
We end this now.
Yeah, we do.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
Alrighty, that was a trailer for Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I think we can all say we're grateful that Drake wasn't in the soundtrack for this movie. You know what time it is. Oh, what do you got for us this week?
Atlas. Atlas appeared in American comic books published by DC Comics. He showed up in first issue special #1, which made it the first issue special.
So it was called first issue?
It was first issue special #1.
That clears it all up.
And it was created by Jack Kirby, Atlas, the character, not first issue special #1. And this was Jack Kirby's version of Atlas. It was his first and only appearance until James Robinson, the same person who wrote the screenplay for the beloved League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, well, he brought Atlas back in Superman number 678. Yes, 678. Now, according to Robinson, Atlas was going to save humanity. Here's what Robinson said, quote, the way I like to look at him is like the Marvel Universe. Namor is a hero, but he really skates the fine line between being a hero and a villain. But he stays on the side of the hero. Atlas, well, he skates that line between hero and villain, but he ultimately always falls on the villain side. Now, Atlas's family and people were slain by the raiders of Hysa, the Lizard King. And Atlas was raised by a wise and mysterious traveler named Shagra. And because of an alien crystal that Atlas happened to have, he just happened to have it. Well, Shagra theorized that Atlas was one of the people of the Crystal Mountain. Now, Shagra agrees to help Atlas achieve his revenge, but only if Atlas agrees to lead him to the Crystal Mountain. Atlas grew up to become a protector of the innocent, But once King Hysa was defeated, his petulance and darker nature came to the forefront. James Robinson introduced a storyline in which Atlas wants to defeat Superman and replace him as Metropolis's champion on his way to conquer the modern world. He holds the upper hand on Superman for most of the battle, but he's interfered with by Superdog Krypto. Atlas is later kidnapped and brainwashed into fighting the Justice League by an unknown entity. After being defeated by the team, Atlas explains to Batman that he has no idea who captured him in the first place. Now, I don't think he ever had 3 daughters, but, maybe he did, and I just didn't know about it. So how about you over there, Adam? Do you have a list?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me if I have daughters. I was going to be like, no. No, I do not, as a matter of fact.
The person who may or may not have 3 daughters, Adam, do you have a list?
By the way, I liked Shagra. It wasn't me guy. Is that not what you're talking about? Okay. Anyway, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this new Shazam flick.
Stuck with me through my incarceration. Is it wrong if I do a Shaggy impersonation? I don't think white people should do that.
No, first and foremost, that's not Shaggy's accent, so I feel that you're free to do it because Shaggy is from New York. That man is from New York City, and he talks like that. So if it's okay for him to do it, I think it's okay for you to do it, quite frankly.
You stuck with me through my incarceration. I want to show the nation my appreciation.
Indeed. Okay, let me sell everybody on this new Shazam flick. This sucker's got everything. We got all the cast returning. Well, except for Mary, who got recast and is now so hot she doesn't even change her body during the Shazam moment. Now that's progress. We got Chuck. We've got Jason Statham's mom. We got all the Lucy Lou's and baby dolls. Get on the floor. Thank you. The girl from Spielberg's West Side Story, which I've still yet to see. We got the kid detective, Amistad. Time marches on, and all the kids are growing up. Darla now with 15% less cute. Agents of Pip, ain't it, sweetie? We got the Samoan Aquaman. No, not that one. The voice one. And the hottest foster mom ever. I said it. Put me in the system, baby. I'll go right now. We've got broken magical staff, superhero movies, wanted destruction, ground punching, tree throwing, hands glowing, jail visiting, Bonnie Tyler, a golden apple, unicorns, flying wooden dragons, a Doctor Strange world moving type thing going on, whispering secrets, pulling a Mrs. Doubtfire, inappropriate aged characters kissing. Well, at least the movie addresses it. They still do it, but they address it. Small steps, Hollywood. Small steps. And after an after credit sequence that for the second time, Mark Strong will not deliver to us what he has promised. I think it is time to kick Mark Strong out of the business. That said, I love that bit, and we'll talk about it in a little while, but this movie's got everything.
Oh, man, you hit some of my favorite jokes right off the bat here, so we can get them out of the way. But yeah, you made the joke I was making about, no wonder he doesn't want to move out of the house when he turns 18. Look at that foster mom.
My word, like man, when we busted in on that room, I was
Dudley.
Like, this dude is... I'm like, this is the luckiest man I think I've seen on film in quite some time.
Did you hear me, Adam? She's no Uncle Dudley when it comes to who you want for a foster parent.
You got to get that hair just right, though.
And then the recasting of Mary or whatever, it really felt like she is a 35-year-old woman with a 37-year-old foster mother. That is how this show started to feel.
It did, but she also fine, so I don't care.
You know what?
I'm sorry, exactly. I hate to be that guy, but all of the women are so beautiful in this film, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, I know she's playing a 19-year-old, but man, she has complained about how much she pays for FICA before. You know what I mean? Like this woman is old enough that it's okay to lust after her.
But yeah, listen, I don't even think I saw a single trailer for this movie, if I'm completely honest. Like, I knew that Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren were both going to be in this. I knew that to some degree. That is about it. I really knew nothing going into this, and it was kind of fun not knowing anything.
You know what? I think the only thing I knew going into it was there was a dragon.
I didn't even know there was a dragon, and when a dragon shows up, I'm like, okay, this is kind of boss. This is an interesting new thing that I certainly wasn't expecting, and I'm sure that they destroyed in the trailer.
I knew there was a dragon, and I knew that there would be 100% no Black Adam reference. Like, those two things I knew.
That we can be assured of. Justin, what were your thoughts kind of going in before? Did you have any kind of preconceived notions? What were your thoughts on the first Shazam? Let's kind of start there.
I never the first one. Okay, I'm sorry. I think you said.
No,
go ahead, Bruce.
I did say I was going for the guest.
That's why I shut up. That's why I shut up abruptly as I started, and then I heard I shouldn't. So pray continue, Justin.
That's okay. But the first one I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it after it came out on what was HBO Go and is now HBO Max. I saw it then because it was Shazam. I'm not a huge Shazam fan, but I saw that. I was like, you know what? I had some time to kill one night when I couldn't sleep. I was like, I'll go ahead and watch it, and I loved it. I thought it was a really great film. I was really impressed by Zachary Levi just kind of being basically being a superhero version of Big, because that's basically what he plays in these movies. And I thought it was just really, really good. I was really excited about this one. I did see the trailer. I saw it a couple of times, and I was excited about it. And this is good, but I think it is a pretty far step down from the first one.
I rewatched the first one the night before I watched the second one. And I had a lot of fun kind of revisiting that and everything and all the characters and stuff. And like, as far as like origin story movies go, it's a really great one. It's just, it moves along at a nice pace there and everything. It gives you kind of everything that you want from that particular movie. So a lot of times once you have that, then you're like, okay, we've got the established characters, the origin and all of this stuff now. Now, once we get into the sequel, we get into kind of, the real movie, if you will. Did you have that feeling kind of going in, Bruce, so that we were kind of going into like the second chapter, if you will?
I was worried about a serious like sophomore slump, a serious letdown, because the first one, to me, I felt like it kind of snuck up on people, that I think that its success was a little bit unexpected. And sometimes when that happens, people go in a little overconfident perhaps to the sequel, or they think they can do no wrong. So I was a little nervous going into this. The first one was really fun, and then it was a fun, triumphant moment at the end when all of the other children got powers too. It was great to see a superhero who's also a foster kid. My family's done a lot of work over the years with foster children and such, so it's just close to my heart, and I like seeing that aspect. But then going into the second one, I was worried, like, man, is there enough movie and story to have 5 people or 6 people with an identical power set bouncing around in the same movie doing the same thing?
Yeah,
So
think,
really
that makes it going to
that.
be like, everything's going to be super simple and easy for them now, because it's just like, well, what's better than one Superman? I don't know, 6?
And I'll give it to the writers. They knew that was going to be a problem, and they started taking powers away from people pretty quickly. So I think that was a good decision. I agree with what Justin said, that I think this one probably was not as enjoyable as the first, but because the first one had the advantage of sort of a blind reaction for me, that the second one, I already had expectations from the first one, that kind of sets it off a little bit. But I'll say as many questions as I'll have about the actual story, the movie itself I found to be good fun. Kept me and my boys entertained. We liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I want to ask a question, because I know Shazam. I'm familiar with the character. But this is one of the things I was thinking about coming into this. So y'all are much better on the comic book side of this than I am. Billy Batson, does he ever like get any older in the comics, or is he always kind of like a 13, 14-year-old kid in those comic books?
He's always, I would say, between 13 and 21.
Okay. Well, that's one other thing I was wondering about, because I was like, I'm just wondering, what is the shelf life on this particular character? Because the kid has to keep getting older, and I was wondering if that was going to be a problem. And I kind of felt like it was a little bit in this one, because we don't hardly see the kid who plays actual Billy, Asher Angel. We don't see him hardly at all in this one. He's on screen for maybe like 10 minutes.
Well, I think you have just introduced a topic I was really wanting to talk about after watching this movie. That something that wasn't as obvious to me in the first one, but in retrospect, I can't help but see it now. But Asher Archer is nowhere near as good an actor as the guy that plays Freddie Freeman. I've just blanked on his name suddenly. But
Jack Dylan Grazer.
Yes, Jack Dylan Grazer. And I think they have a real problem in that their best Shazam hero is far and away Zachary Levi. Nobody else on that is even close to his level that's cast. But then when it comes to the children, it's Freddie, who is so much more interesting than Billy. And I imagine at some point somebody probably kicked themselves that they didn't switch that casting around. But they've got to find a way to make Freddie the star of the movie while also making Billy's superhero alter ego the star of the movie. And they balance that pretty well. but it started to become glaringly obvious to me that they did not want Billy on screen. I mean, they gave him what probably the least they could get away with without having him like walk away from the movie altogether. You know what I'm saying? Like they needed him a little bit, but they probably had to give him at least enough to keep him happy.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, honestly, it wasn't, you know, had we kind of cemented that we were going to be getting more Shazam films, I feel like by the end it would have just been like now we've gotten stuck and we will be in our super forms forever. So long to all of our former selves. They will never be the same again. Bye-bye. And then they're them forever.
Yes.
Because you run up across that thing. But now let me throw this to you, because this is a wilder question. This is taking that and kind of pushing it to yet another level. Let's fast forward, we'll call it 20 years, because that's a good round number. It gives us plenty of time to have wild advances. What would you say to having like CGI'd, de-aged CGI'd people continuing their acting roles as time goes on? Because, like, okay, for example, take Captain America, the first Captain America movie, right? They shot that thing with him fully bulked, right? And then they skinnyized him throughout the entire thing. That was all done in post. All the skinny stuff was done in post. They just shot him big, regular. So the technology
That's why I always tell people somewhere there's a great version of me in post.
Exactly. There's a great version of me in post somewhere. Somebody has the technology. They can do it. But I think, can we not get, like, you know, just make people a forever age as far as, like, from a CGI acting thing? And do we want to see that? Is that I don't know.
I think we could do it. I don't necessarily want to do it. You know, I don't know. Let the kids get older. I mean, let the movie franchise go on. I don't care if, you know what? I never cared that Burt Ward was 73 years old playing the boy wonder. You know, that never bothered me. I just know that I either you love the person in that role or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't love them when they age out, let a new person have a shot at it. And if you do love them, you'll just stick with them, even if they are like, you know, like as Chloe Grace Moretz, way too old to be Hit Girl now. But if they made a third Kick-Ass movie and she was in it as Hit Girl, I would be cool with it. If they recast her, I would probably be bitter. But if they recast Kick-Ass, I'm all for it. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean? So that's how I would describe it.
Well, let's take that example, though. Let's take that example and say that we want to do a Hitman sequel, but we will take Chloe Grace Moretz. I can't say that her name today. We'll take her, but just CGI de-age her so she looks as she did in the first Kick-Ass movie. Would you watch that movie? Because it gets to be in that, like, that, what was the sequel to Orphan, that, like, it doesn't look right?
Yes,
let's say it looks right.
This is a weird sexist thing that I'm going to say, but when you do it with guys, it seems to work a little bit better. When they do it with girls, it almost seems like you need to check the browser history on the guy who's doing
this. Well, it's because we're more angular. They're softer. It's a little. I think it's tougher to make look real.
I think that they hire men to do it. You know, and I think that there's some weird projection that goes on between their men and women de-aging. I'm telling you, I don't
know what women really look like. I'm going to be frank with you, boys. I guess, is that a girl? Sure, why not?
I'm telling you, man. You've seen how animators draw 11-year-olds in Japan. You'd understand why I worry about people.
That's fair. Fair point. Humor this time was a little bit subdued, but still enough laughs for me without having to, you know, I don't need it necessarily knee slapping, but I don't feel like it was depressing by any means.
Oh, I thought the humor was pretty well placed.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I love the fact that Zachary Levi, his character, is constantly like pointing out like the kind of the stupid stuff that you see in Marvel movies, like, or in a comic book movie, like the wooden dragon, fire breathing dragon. How that's kind of like that's kind of problematic here. I love that type of stuff, and I thought the jokes were one of the best parts of it.
Yeah. I think that worked really well. I think the jokes and the action are why I really forgave it for some pretty poor story choices, in my opinion. Also, man,
the story, the writing on this is really, really bad. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but I thought that was some of the writing on this was just really, really bad.
Yeah. I think that the problem is even bigger than the writing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the basic story has some some WTF questions to be asked, and it's hard to just write your way out of that kind of a hole.
All right, let's get into that then.
But the fun moments are what saved it for me. Okay, so let's get into it. First off, you have a lot of villains to choose from. You have a lot of different angles to take for the conflict in a movie like this. Why do they bring in these sort of three non-existent hero? Why are they bringing in, like, this really feels like the villain they decided to bring in the old Supergirl movie from the 80s that we watched, Adam, where it's like, why not actually bring in a villain? Why are you bringing in a sorceress? This makes no sense.
So there's your question though. Like, are these three characters have any basis in any comic booky thing, or is this just
I don't think they do. I think just in as much as every figure from Greek mythology has probably shown up somewhere in some comic, but as they're packaged and presented here, no, I couldn't find any comic book reference for the daughters of Atlas. And even in Greek mythology, these three characters, Calypso, Anathea, and Hespera, they are not the daughters of Atlas either. They're not even sisters. They're just three different characters. So none of that aspect made sense to me. And I think you could tell this same basic conflict with actual characters that exist in that universe. You could even play the same kind of trick that they did with the youngest sister passing as a high school student. You could have probably played that trick with some like magical characters that already exist in the DC world. But anyway, that was the first big complaint I have with the writing, is just that story concept from the beginning, when they keep teasing the far more interesting story, which is the Monster Society of Evil, or whatever you want to call the alliance between Dr. Savannah and Mr. Mind. Like, that's what this movie needed to be, not the teaser at the end.
Well, and that's what was so funny. We'll travel ahead here for a moment, because it is partially a complaint that I have about this movie, and that and it's one that kind of makes me a little bit mad. Is that end? So the final, not the first mid credits, but the after credits. Mark Strong, who was the villain in the first film, who was in jail in the last credit sequence at the end of Shazam. And for those that didn't know, he's in that jail cell, and he's just starting to write on the walls and everything in there. And Mr. Mind is there, and like, if you don't know who Mr. Mind is, this is all very, very confusing. But we get to and I'm so happy that last week we covered the animated one, and Mr. Mind was in that episode. It made me so happy inside,
along with Savannah.
So it's so good, and I was very excited about it. But that coming up at the end, and like, because it's extended, because it's basically the same scene that we had last time. But now, like, he's got a mustache and beard and stuff. He's grown older, so time has gone by. And the absolutely hilarious joke where he's just like, "Listen, it's been years. What the hell's been going on here? Why?" It's because it takes me a long way to get places. And then he plops down and starts crawling away. Oh my God, it was so funny, and I was so pissed, because we're probably never going to see that movie.
I'm telling you, though, that the plot from the second episode of that cartoon would make the perfect third movie in this series.
But here's the thing, though. Okay, and again, we're skipping around, we're jumping a little bit. So let me, as I say that, as those words come out of my mouth, that we will never see that again, part of me thinks that there's just a minuscule little chance somewhere in there on account of Peacemaker characters coming over to this show, and specifically mentioning Justice Society. Like things like that make me feel like, while we may never do another Shazam movie per se, maybe he's in something else. Maybe I want the Mr. Mind thing to go somewhere, because like, it's just, and again, think about this. Is Mr. Mind not straight up the alley of one James Gunn? That is his universe stuff. That is him all day long. So I'm just like, but it makes nothing but sense for a Mr. Mind to show up in a James Gunn world. Come on.
Are you ready to have your mind blown? Mr. Mind is officially now more influential in the Shazamiverse than The Rock.
Yeah, we want to see that one. We want to see that movie. But we don't want to see
The Rock versus Mr. Mind.
Yeah, listen, if Mr. Mind takes him out, maybe that's a ticket I might have to purchase. But I love the fact that we got more dialogue out of Mr. Mind, and his crappy excuse, and how everything is just taking so long because he can't move very quickly. It's so much fun, and I'm just like, the fact that this movie didn't do, I didn't think it was going to do, 150 million, but the fact that it didn't crack, 50, 60 plus easy is kind of sad to me. And let me ask you boys, do you think that part of this then comes from the fact, from the James Gunn DC announcement overall of that more or less this movie may or may not even kind of quote unquote count, if you will? Does that factor in at all to people not watching?
I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
I think it does, actually, because, when I went to see this, I was like, I actually kind of forgot this film was coming out until Friday afternoon when I was watching the NCAA tournament, and I saw a promotion for it. So, like I said, I kind of forgot about it. And when I went to the movie theater, I was like, I want to go see this. And I was like, you know what? Do I need to go see this? Because I'm not even sure this is going to matter anymore. And I think that, honestly, that's one of the things where this thing suffers from, is because we don't know what's going to happen with this film. And also, you still got this other thing that just kind of drives me crazy. The last two DC movies that have come out, both of them have been using the word Shazam to get their powers, and neither of them recognize each other. The wizard in both stories doesn't even mention this other character. I'm like, I think this is having all this on my mind it hurts the storytelling about this just a little bit. And I know that's all of this is because of The Rock and of his ego, but all that was kind of playing in my mind. So I do think a little bit of it was hurt by the fact that James Gunn has said, we're basically starting over, and he's basically said, the Rock
Black
stuff
Adam
isn't going to count anymore.
And I think that's also part of it. Black Adam kind of stunk, so people were just like, once bitten, twice shy, baby.
How's this sound to you guys, man? I think they were throwing shade at The Rock with their Fast and the Furious references they made a couple times in this movie. Two franchises that The Rock has been kicked out of, man, and they collided here with Helen Mirren being successful in both.
I thought
about star than The Rock, Helen Mirren.
I thought about that for like half a second, then it fleeted my mind until you mentioned it again. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, she was in both of those things. I think that was more for like these are kids, and those are going to be their cultural touchstone references. Films that have been around for 10 films.
It's what millennials think kids are into. It's probably not what kids are really into.
Well, no. So think about it. No, I'm going to have to push back on that a little bit, because I mentioned how Drake sucks earlier in the show, and I worked with a lot of kids in their 20s and stuff, right? And here's the thing. These kids, they've known Drake since they were little kids. They're so stupid that like their musicians didn't kill themselves like our musicians did, right? So they kept on living, and it's like this has just been something that these dumb kids have known forever. I think the Fast and the Furious is like that as well. It's just a dumb thing that's been around since they, were going to the movies, and it's why not?
I don't know. Every time I go to the Fast and the Furious, I'm seeing guys that had a really, really good drag racing career back when Vanilla Ice would be pumping out of their tape deck.
So
like
good.
That's who I'm seeing in the theater. Most of the Fast and the Furious.
Man, that 99 Fast and the Furious screening was one of the wildest. It just was because people were like, that was when people were already like bringing tune-up cars and stuff to it. It was like, what an event. But you're not going to see anybody dressing up with lightning bolts on their chest going into Shazam, because it just doesn't have the same appeal. You know what they need? More flying cars out of buildings.
If I had the right size costume, I'd do it.
I thought the special effects were a lot of fun in this. I thought the dragon looked really cool in a world where a lot of dragons look crappy and stupid. And like if you'd have said there's a wooden dragon in this, I'd have been like, oh, that's going to be awful. And it was really kind of cool.
There's another one of the young actors I want to talk about, because it's somebody I was not familiar with at all. And it's the young lady who played Anathea, the one that I saw this turn coming, that it was his girlfriend in high school. And I thought it was going to be Lucy Liu, who could shapeshift, is what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But it turned out to be a third sister. But with her, I think I'm not familiar with her, but I looked her up on Wikipedia, and it said she was Maria in West Side Story. And that's like, wow, that's quite the first role to have in a movie. Yeah, Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story. I don't know that many people are like, I'm thinking about maybe trying out for acting, and that's the first role. That's pretty heavy. So yes, Hollywood has high expectations for this young woman.
Yeah.
She's also Snow White, I think, in Disney's live action Snow White that they're working on.
Well, she's good looking, and that again, this whole movie chocked to the nines, full of good looking ladies.
She's got that high school kid look to her, so I don't see it the same way. Maybe,
no, I know. I'm just saying. I know she's like 20,
think,
but I'm saying they just across the board they hired good looking women for this. I'm including Helen Mirren in that as well. Everyone.
Yes, Helen Mirren, a beautiful lady, but Lucy Liu's probably the one that tickled my fancy, the tickliest and the fanciest. But anyway. I used to watch High School Musical, the series on Disney Plus.
What a name.
And the female lead in that show, I think her name's Olivia Rodrigo, and she had like a big pop song.
Yeah.
And that's who I kind of thought this person might have been at first. And then I was like, no, it's clearly not her, but she's going to have she's really talented. But yeah, I thought she was somebody else who's good. But it sounds like Hollywood really has high expectations for her. So, that's probably great casting if she does turn out to be the big star. People online saying like the next Jenna Ortega, which is funny because I feel like she's probably the next someone that I'm not thinking of right now. How does she already have a next?
I like the idea of Bruce being in the theater and just going is like, is that what's her face from the Disney show? Or whatever.
Well, I got my son.
Not even his son.
Who's
just
actually
a regular patient goes, "Is that Olivia Rodrigo?" And they're like, "Who is that?" And he's just like, he starts explaining who Olivia Rodrigo is.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, with my son who's very knowledgeable in musical theater, so it worked out for us.
And Olivia Rodrigo, I would bet. Listen, overall, like I said, the story doesn't have a lot of guts to it. It is kind of the same basic sort of superhero story. But overall, I mean, for what it is and what it tries to accomplish, I was fine with it, overall.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest issue with the story is, and it kind of goes back to what Bruce was saying earlier about the villains. I mean, they have other problems that just being these made up characters that have never appeared anywhere in any type of comic book before. But they also have there's like two MacGuffins in this thing with the staff and with the apple that's the seed. Like, they're chasing them, and I don't really know what their motivation is. Sometimes it seems like their motivation is they want to avenge their father Atlas's death by humans, and sometimes it feels like their motivation is we're trying to actually bring back this garden. And like I said, the villains are really what really struggle with this film. Outside of them, though, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the villain, the plot of the villain stuff is just kind of like, what are we talking about? You're right.
I do want to confess what I think was a highlight of the movie, but it's a little bit of a confession. Maybe say more about me than it is about the movie. But that part where Djimon Hounsou's head was on Gal Gadot's body?
Oh my word! Yes, that was honestly a highlight of the film.
I'm kind of into that or something. I don't know, man. I like that.
Oh boy!
I need that as the wallpaper on my iPhone now.
I will say this: I was pleasantly I thrilled beyond belief. Gal Gadot was in this film. I thought that was just so much fun.
I thought Shazam was going to get the reputation of only showing the costume and not the actual actor,
which I thought was also kind of. I thought that was also super fun though, because it's stupid, but there's something 80s about that too.
But I like it that they did it, but at the end they also showed they didn't have to do it, so that you understand it was a creative choice.
Yeah, I mean, just so much fun with that. I was really happy that they could put that in there.
But if there's ever a sexiest DC character list, I'm going to have to vote for number one, Wonder Woman with Shazam's head, with the wizard Shazam's head.
Oh, my word. That sounds
So I have
right.
a question. That kind of brings me together. This also made me think of this, was when she does show up there at the end, I was like, surely they are going to, I know James Gunn has said Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman movie is her last Wonder Woman movie is done. They're not doing it. I get all that, but you've got to bring Gal Gadot back as Wonder Woman, don't you? I mean, you just have to.
You have to, man. And she's so iconic. The only person who could even come close to laying a claim to the Wonder Woman name other than Gal Gadot at this point, of course, Linda Carter. But and I'm all for her putting on the costume if she wants to. Bless her heart, man. She can do it. Knock yourself out. But she's probably not going to do that. So yeah, Gal Gadot is who you got right now.
But I mean, a lot of fun, and again, it also but again, I'm sure that raises a lot of eyebrows for people just going well, does this count? Is she going to ever be anything? And is this just a one-off now?
My son told me that the original release schedule was to have the beloved Ezra Miller's Flash come out before this. And do you think that maybe like that there's supposedly, he says some subtle clues here that this is a different Earth than the one that was in the first Shazam movie.
Here's the thing.
That's why so this could be, with the comics in the Silver Age, we had Earth 1, which were all the Silver Age heroes, but then we had Earth 2 with the Golden Age, so legacy stories could exist. So basically the idea might be that James Gunn is going to allow an Earth 2 to have the highlights of the Snyder era, but they won't be part of the Earth 1 that's going to be sort of his new thing. But then he's got his Earth 1 representatives here on Earth 2, so that falls apart because you got people from Peacemaker here. So I don't know, but there's all kinds of theories about multiverse impact on this movie that would have made more sense if you had seen, like I said, the most widely awaited movie in the history of cinema, The Flash, starring Ezra Miller.
No, I'm sure that has to be what is actually. Have you heard this? This is breaking news. They're going to be bringing out Zack Snyder's the Snyder cut to theaters.
Man, why?
4 hours of 4:3 black and white goodness. I hear they're going to bring it down to mono to get it extra gritty for you kids. What a crock.
It's an option for people who are thinking about throwing it all away. Like, just watching this is what it's like to make a really bad decision. So after 4 hours, this one's over with. So before you make this other bad decision, see what 4 hours of a bad decision is like before.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to have an eternity of those bad decisions?
It's like this until you die.
It's all of a sudden, it's just like he busts out, just like, I gotta go to church. I got some repenting I gotta do because I don't need a lifetime of damnation in this going on. No sirree, Bob. What do you think? What's the future for this thing though? Because I mean, I want it to be good. I want some to go, but I don't know that we need any of the ancillary characters. Is that what it feels like?
I think the future is after Wonder Woman revived Shazam, because he was in Shazam form, he cannot ever go back to Billy Batson form. I think we will never see Asher Stevens. What was this? Fisher Stevens?
Asher Angel. Asher
Angel. Boy,
we'll
if
never see
Fisher Stevens
doing his Short Circuit character again
in brownface does this role of Billy Batson,
and
he's right height.
And I think we're going to get a thing where it's like Freddie Freeman is the Jimmy Olsen to Shazam as Superman, but he's always stuck as Shazam, so he misses like it's a little bit of a Ben Grimm thing. But I think the future holds no more Billy Batson for a while.
I do like how shucks, I just lost it. But he was just like, I don't know, the kid was funny. Like I really enjoy him in this role. Oh, the Captain Marvel Jr., him calling him Captain Marvel Jr., I thought was hilarious. I go, oh, that's so great that you just take the trope that would have been on you and just go like, no, I'm giving it to him. You're Captain Marvel or Captain Everything Jr.
Did you guys catch the cameo from the 70s Billy Batson?
Did we catch it? Jeez Louise, they might as well have put up a banner above the guy saying, here's the guy from The Thing. You look at him in his same bloody shirt.
My 15-year-old leaned over and he said, I've never seen that version, but I know that has to be the same shirt.
Exactly. Like you see it, you just like, even if you don't know, you're like, something's wrong. This is a cameo that I'm not aware of what it is, but I know that ain't no regular person.
Right.
Because that's not what regular people look like at all.
It's a weird little troll.
That is exactly the way I was, because I was unfamiliar with the 70s thing, but when it came, I was like, that's got to mean something. I don't know what it means, but it's got to mean absolutely something.
You're like, is that a Greasy Strangler reference? What is that?
He's the one who calls him Captain Marvel.
It's so bad. I love it because it is so bad, but it's just like, it's that perfect, it's the style of cameo that Lou Ferrigno does, where he thinks he's doing a really super job, but it's as crap as it gets. He's just like, but he goes home and goes, nailed it at work today.
He's really thinking he might actually get cast as the new Billy.
Exactly. He's just like, there's a post credit sequence, right? Right?
Oh, imagine this. Just before she dies, the witch puts a curse on Billy to make him into a septuagenarian.
He's just pitching constantly to everybody during lunch, and no one's having any of it. I will say this, though. I wonder what the future holds for director David F. Sandberg, who had a small little indie horror career and everything. Directed like the second Annabelle movie and Lights Out, and
let's be honest. One of the best pseudonyms one of the best pseudonyms of all time. He was Pony Smasher.
Yeah. But like, and the guy still like solely with his wife will shoot little short films and stuff and put them up on YouTube. I'm like, there's just something that's like just very nice and charming about this guy. And like, I want to see him win all of the time. I think to a degree he knew that this was not going to do super well because of all of the, like we said, machinations of things going on outside and within DC and whatnot.
But a guy who knows how to make a solid, or not even solid, just a passable, competent horror movie for low budget will never be broke.
Yeah,
and so he may never be big time, or he may not continue to be big time, but he'll never be broke because he's always going to be able to. He'll be able to make movies that if they make $2 million, 1.8 is profit.
Yeah, he could step back like right now, and I'm sorry, this might have been 10, 15 plus years ago. This would have been like a derogatory thing to say about somebody, but it's I don't believe it is today. He could step back and direct 5 amazingly good Blumhouse movies for next to nothing. Get paid enough money and like take a little on the back end and stuff. And I'm sure, and he even mentioned, he's just like, don't nobody cry for me on these Shazam stuff. He says, I got all my money paid up front. So like he lets it know. He's just like, I got paid. It's okay.
Blumhouse is even a bigger, sort of a bigger platform than I was even thinking of. Like he could make movies for Shudder for $2 million a pop. You know what I mean? They'll pay him $2 million. And make them for $200,000. That's good profit.
But like, I mean, I hope he does well after this, and I think he deserves to do other big things. Maybe not necessarily superhero things per se, but I hope somebody just like kind of gives him a little Ryan Johnson freedom, if you will. Just somebody just says, listen, we won't give you a ton of money, but we'll give you a little bit of money, and you just go do what you want to do.
And as far as it goes in a post-Nolan DC world, I think this is the first DC entertainment universe property to have 2 movies in a row that I didn't hate either of them. So, it's kind of an accomplishment for DC.
You're not completely stinking. Congratulations, DC. You're not the bottom of the barrel. Before we do get to our final review, though, we do have to find out how this Shazam flick relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone. And I don't know about you boys, but I've got a prepared statement. Hello there, Mr. Stallone. It's me, Adam. The third loudmouth know-it-all of HMP. Sean couldn't be here this week because the Cracker Factory had quite the meltdown. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, Mr. Stallone, but a saltine with no salt, no bueno. So that's left the Stallone connection to me. I've done a few of these in the past, and I got to tell you, it's not as hard as everybody thinks. Come on. First of all, you're Sylvester Stallone. You've been working since 1969 or 1970, depending upon what you want to call your first role, but you've done it all. We thought that we couldn't do it last week, and sure enough, friend of the show, Matthew Vandiver, made that connection even when Sean couldn't. I'm going to read Matt's review right here. Mr. Stallone, do you remember some 21 years ago when you supplied your sweet but rocky tones to the animated series on PBS Kids titled Liberty's Kids? Boy, I sure don't. But I have recently looked it up and learned that it was basically about 2 intrepid teenage reporters, an American boy and a British girl, who hang out, work with, and for Benjamin Franklin as they go on adventures during and write about the Revolutionary War.
Oh, wow.
The series featured many famous and well-known names like Walter Cronkite and members of the Cronkite fan, as well as Ben Stiller as Thomas Jefferson. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute here. Let me slow your roll here.
I'm suddenly interested.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look at this cast. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dustin Hoffman, Michael Douglas, Whoopi Goldberg, Liam Neeson, Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf.
No, you're lying, man. This does not exist.
Okay, Liberty Kids, you had my begrudging interest, and now you have my complete attention, and I'll be seeking out more from you later. But despite that staggeringly eclectic and implausible list of guest stars, the name on the cast list are here to focus on is you, Mr. Stallone. And the episode in which you graced Liberty Kids with your presence was titled Midnight Ride, and it was all about Paul Revere, whom you voiced, and William Dawes riding from Boston to Lexington, each one with the aforementioned teen gang of 2 in tow. To say I was enthralled to hear your voice as Paul Revere would be an understatement. I can honestly say that never in my life would I have thought it would be something I so desperately wanted. And now that it's happened, I can safely say that I'm shocked that it didn't open the floodgates to you portraying other historical figures. I can easily imagine your singular voice, which I recently learned is due to the effect of a pair of forceps on your baby Rocky noggin on the side of your Lincoln Douglas debates or donning the trademark hairstyle of Mark Twain. Anyway, Mr. Stallone, on to the reason why your participation in Liberty Kids is of interest to this segment of the podcast. Does the name Mike Stibberling mean anything to you? I don't really see why it should, so let's sit right back and let me take you down a new road of discovery. Diving deep into the production of Filmation's Shazam, I discovered a name shared by the crew of Liberty Kids. That name is Mike Stringberg. Stringling? I don't know. It's a weird pronouncing name. I've got portraits, so what do you want? On Shazam, he was the animator, exact capacity unknown, on Liberty Kids, and he was a sheet timer, meaning that his job was to take storyboards and convey how they are animated using an X sheet, a sheet showing everything that happens and how long it happens in the episode. Between Shazam and Liberty Kids, Mike Stribling worked on movies and shows such as The Smurfs, Pound Puppies and the Legend of the Big Paw, and the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. He also wrote and directed an award-winning short film called The Tale of Tilly's Dragon in 1995. His last job listed on IMDb in 2014 was Thomas and Friends' Troubles on the Tracks, where he was once again a sheet timer. I can only imagine that he must have retired soon after and is currently living out his golden years as he sees fit, secure in the knowledge that because of him, we once got the perfect amounts of Paul Revere and Sylvester Stallone in one 23-minute episode of historical fiction. So there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone connection is animator, sheet timer, lip assigner, writer, director, Mike Stribling. See, Mr. Stallone, we have done this segment for so many years now, and so far, despite our efforts asking each week, you've yet to contact us. You know that we secretly love this show, and that you could be the next step. Maybe this will help. I don't know, but I'll tell you this, the Stallone connection isn't so much about you as it is about recognizing the names of people like Mike Stribling. It is about the people who do a lot of the work to make sure that the movie or series is the best it can possibly be. However, we are willing to put that aside for at least once if it means corresponding with you. Because here's another secret. The Dream of Hero Movie podcast is to one day relate one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone. You see, it was that easy. You connect everything with Sylvester Stallone. That was the end of Matt. Matt, you're going to get a prize for that. We're going to figure something out here for you, buddy. But it was that easy. You connect everything, Mr. Stallone. You connect to Shazam! Fury of the Gods via hairstylist Cynthia L. Chapman, who worked with you on Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2 as a background hair supervisor. You probably recognized her as the lady that was futzing with the hair of all the little people in the background. Just like those little people and Cynthia L. Chapman for that day, Mr. Stallone, we know who you are. We admire you from afar. We just hope that one day you'll at least acknowledge that we exist. Even my exes still acknowledge that I exist, even if they don't talk to me anymore. But be better than my exes, Mr. Stallone. We'd really appreciate it. There it is, everybody. This week's Stallone connection is hairstylist extraordinaire Cynthia L. Chapman. Sean has a lot to live up to for next week, but he'll get there. He'll get there.
So, Adam.
Yeah.
I saw a meme, man. It was the movie poster for the movie Cobra. At the top, it says, "Crime is a disease, meet the cure." Then somebody had put Robert Smith from The Cure's face over Sylvester Stallone's body. It was pretty good. So you need to look into that.
Oh, I've seen that one. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. I need to get that one printed out, like something to carry in my wallet and say, hey, you want to see a picture of one of my kids? And then show people that and see how they react.
They've been like, kid's like 60 now, isn't he?
You've been cured. That's my new prank series on YouTube. You've been cured.
Okay, all right. Like, listen, this is super dark. But as an eye doctor, you bring out a picture of the cure and you look about it, and if they can see it, you just go, "You've been cured." It's pretty good. All right.
The first thing you'll see when I take off the bandages is Robert Smith, because you've been cured. Oh my God.
We're just going to put out, and disintegration just starts and your life is just, it's great. It's pretty good. Come on. All right.
But it's Friday. I'm in love.
It's Friday. I can see. See, there you go. We're getting it. It's working all the time.
All right.
Here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. We don't do stars. We don't do letters. It's all a bunch of silly nonsense over here. Bruce, where does Shazam, Fury of the Gods, fall in the Robin rating system for you?
I've got to give it a Tim Drake, man. I've had a lot of fun, and I think it's an impressive Tim Drake because I am not that impressed with the story, but I still had fun with the performances and the moments and the scenes. So I think you could enjoy it if you hadn't even seen the first one. I think it's worth checking out. Hopefully it'll have a decent second weekend. I can understand people being trepidatious about buying into anything that seems like a continuation of the old school at Warner Brothers DC, but maybe people like us who went and saw it, we go out and say, you know what, not that bad, and more people go see it next weekend. So we'll see how the second weekend goes for it.
Justin, thoughts?
I thought it was I thought it was a lot of fun. I did have a lot of problems with the writing. So it's better than a Damian Wayne. It's not quite as good as a Tim Drake. So I'm going to make my own little spin on your rating system, and I'm going to give it a Damian Drake for me.
That works.
For me, I think I'm going to go Tim Drake. I like this well enough. Like it was, thank God it's only 2 hours and 10 minutes. I still think it could have lost 15, 20 minutes and probably would have helped it, actually. I think it would have helped a lot of the flow of it and just move along a little bit quicker. But yeah, 15, 20 minutes of that gone would help lighten the load a little bit. But yeah, overall, fun enough. I liked it. Here's the thing. You've created a group of characters that are interesting and not annoying enough that we will like to hang out with them for some films and stuff. And I think that's the same case here. And I like these characters enough that I want to see what happens. And especially when you have something as stupid as Mr. Mind and you're just not, it's so dumb, but it's so dumb in the best way. But if there's anybody that can bring that to fruition and do it the right way, I feel like James Gunn gonna be the guy who can help shepherd that right, you know?
At the very least, just make it a running gag that at the very end credits of every Warner Brothers movie, not just DC, every Warner Brothers movie for the next 3 years, Mr. Mind pops up and talks to Mark Strong.
I just wanted to tell you it's coming. It's coming. Just see what happens. So, yeah. Well, that is it, everybody. Another episode of HMP in the works here. But don't worry, we got more of this stuff coming. Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet during the meantime?
You can always check out my YouTube channel. Matthew Vandiver, one of our patrons here on the show, he played the Crunchyroll Anime Awards game show with me, and we made a little 30-minute YouTube video out of that. So if you want to see the Crunchyroll Anime Awards game show, a very poorly conceived idea with even worse execution, go check it out.
Justin, tell us a little bit about your show.
So it's the Main Attraction Podcast. We do 2 episodes every week. We're doing Mando and we're doing Ted Lasso this week. We're getting ready to start Yellow Jackets next week. And we'll probably dive into Succession as well on HBO Max. So got a lot of stuff going. You can also follow me on Twitter at Justin M. Strawn. I would really appreciate that because most of my tweets right now are about sports stuff. I'd like to get into movie and television stuff on Twitter. So that would be great.
Yeah. So go do all that. Subscribe to all the things. Follow them all the places. And links will be in the show notes. That is it. Join us next week, everybody. We're going to be talking Super Fuzz. Now, Super Fuzz, the original title is in Italian, so I will not attempt to pronounce that. But it's from 1980. Here's the IMDb plotline. Just want to get everybody kind of ready for it. Red powder from a nuclear explosion gives a police officer superpowers as long as he doesn't see anything red. He's eventually framed for murder as unsuccessfully executed by many different methods. Executed, all right. But it's an Italian film. It seems like it's really fun. It's available on Amazon Prime right now. So go check that out. Come back here next week where we'll be talking about that.
The name of the movie might be Super Snoopers or something like that on Amazon, even though the actual name is Super Fuzz. I just didn't remember if you pointed that out.
It's one of those things that Italian films usually have like 8,000 different titles to them, and they're always like, oh, we'll just retitle this and we'll retitle that one. I'm sure this is another one that's got 15 different titles.
Because I usually kind of zone out when you're doing the goodbyes, and then I thought, well, I better throw it in just in case.
No, listen, you're not wrong, because it probably we would have gotten things going like, that's not a real thing, you just made it up, which I thought earlier if you listen to the pre-show. Anyways, that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Super Fuzz, or what's it called? The great
Super Snoopers.
Super Snoopers, a hell of a better name, I would say. That is it, everybody. For the absent Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Justin Strong, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Goodbye, Marty and Edie.